All right, good morning, everybody. I can see people are starting to fill in. My name's Craig Sandman. I'll be hosting today, and I've got Michael Markulik on, who's really going to do a bulk of the conversation with everybody. It's a minute before 11. We're going to let people stroll in for the next couple of minutes, and we'll probably start this thing a few minutes after 11. So hang in there. Feel free to ask any questions or come off and chat if you would like. We don't have the total visibility into the number of people that are going to be on, but when we get to a few minutes after 11, we'll probably begin today's session. And by the way, thank you all for jumping on in a sometimes difficult week to do these kinds of things. We had it slated for last week. The timing didn't work out. So appreciate you all hopping on here. Probably the last truly productive work day of the week. Okay, for those of you that have joined, we're going to let this run for a couple more minutes. We are recording this session as well. So we'll let this run for a couple more minutes before we get started with our content for today. James, I see you out there. How you doing?
I'm doing well today.
Great. Hey, Rob, thanks for joining.
Hey, how's it going, Craig?
Great. Very good. We're going to give a couple more minutes here for just the attendees to fill out, and we'll probably let this thing fly in about 2-3 minutes. And for all of you out there, we'll cover this one too, but I hope you all have good Thanksgivings and don't have to travel too far to get to where you're getting to. All right, Elizabeth checking in from Atlanta. You're probably warmer than we are today. All right, Alex, welcome. Hey, Tim, I missed you. Welcome. Eddie, Costin. Great. All right, why don't we begin here? So just to start things off, we've done a couple of these already, a couple of sessions with under the vCISO News emblem. Just to give a quick background on vCISO News, it's an online digital collaboration of contributions from virtual CISOs and Laura Dana Nikolai, who's on as well, and myself, Craig Sandman. You know, we about a year ago, we saw an opportunity, a real great opportunity for the virtual CISO consultants. I'll get to my introductions in a little bit, but one thing we didn't see was really for this emerging practice and the demand in the marketplace was really a place for virtual CISOs to collaborate and a medium to promote the business value and the relevancy of the virtual CISO. We believe strongly in it, and we hope that virtual CISO news and the collaboration can help lift all of you into a better place through best practices sharing and through promotion of the value proposition and the relevance of the virtual CISO, particularly for those that are doing a lot of work in the mid-size business sector and below, where there just tends to be an endless need at this point. So one of the things we committed to for the community a couple of months back was to create a recurring webinar series and pull from the contributors, the virtual CISOs that are part of the vCISO News collaboration effort, to pull from these contributors topics that are relevant for virtual CISOs. And we've got a list of topics that we're working through. If you have suggestions for things that you want to hear, if you'd like to contribute and personally deliver some of these messages, we are excited to hear from you. We'd love to have people rolling up their sleeves and helping this effort. For today, we've got us a great topic from one of our contributors here, Michael Markulik. Before I get to Michael, I'll formally introduce myself. My name's Craig Salmon. I'm the president and co-founder of Symbol Security. Symbol Security is a security awareness training organization. We create software that is used largely by managed security service providers and virtual CISOs as they deliver outsourced security awareness training programs. There are other components to what we do, which I'm not going to get into today, but long story short, I've been personally working with and getting to know virtual CISOs really since the inception of our company in 2018. And so I've been really impressed and intrigued by the opportunity, and also, I think as a CEO of an organization that's in growth mode, fulfilling needs and seeing what's going on in the market, I see the gap and the need for the virtual CISOs. And also, I have a background in business development and third-party sales, and so where I can, I hope I can be of value to the community as we really put a megaphone around what you all are doing. Not here on the screen, but on playing host in the call from a logistical perspective is Loredana Nicolai. Loredana runs a company called NNC Services, which is a marketing organization based both in Romania and in the United States. And she and her team have been really great in providing a lot of the back end work that helps bring vCISO news to life, the publications, the constructing of the webinars, and a lot of the coordination and project management. So thank you, Loredana, for everything you've done up to this point. And now I want to introduce Michael Markulik. I've known Michael a long time, probably almost 10 years at this point. Super impressed with what he and Harbor Technology Group have been able to do over the time that I've known them. And from the inception of Symbol Security, I've gotten to watch them a little more closely and the value that they bring to their companies and their clients. And Michael had a great suggestion for today's topic, which was really, I think, at the crux of a lot of what consultancies aim to do once they get out of get past the point where they've established a legitimate business, they're generating revenue, they've got clients, and they're running a real business. Is okay, now how do we scale this? And I think a lot of us have been in that position no matter what business we've been in. But this is what Michael's going to cover today. And throughout the course of the dialogue, I'll try to, if it makes sense for me to interject, I will. But mostly I'm going to let Michael share his thoughts on this. If you have questions, please enter them in. If there is or Loredana, do we have a hand raise for this? If we do, that would be ideal. If not, you can put them in the chat.
Yes, we have a hand raise.
We do. Okay, great. So let's do Q&A that way. And depending on how we do from a timing perspective, maybe we'll open it up for conversation at the end. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Michael Markulik. And Michael, if you don't mind, maybe a little background on yourself, Harbor Technology Group, and then we can get right into scaling a vCISO practice.
Perfect. Well, thanks for having me today. And, I won't spend too much time talking about my enthusiasm for the Philadelphia Eagles and the fact that we may actually make the playoffs this year. So, but thanks for joining today. I did want to give a little bit of background because I'll help think it provides a little bit of context. I've been in networking cybersecurity for a couple of decades. Was CEO of a Bell Labs cybersecurity software firm. Name of the company was Lumeta. We were selling primarily into the federal government, large enterprise, financial services, large pharma, international kind of organizations. Not relevant what the software was, but it was doing network discovery, network mapping, and testing perimeters, edges of the network, whether those edges be between the internet and the inside, or if you think about large, Department of Defense kind of networks, the segmentation that goes within. We sold that company to private equity. And I was really looking for what were the next trends in the cybersecurity kind of landscape. At that point, the federal government had done a pretty good job about bolstering its own defenses. Financial services, large banks, large brokerage firms had already kind of started to spend on cyber. And what I came up with and what I saw was that, the soft underbelly side of cybersecurity was in the small and medium-sized business. And from a talent perspective, from a funding perspective, from a risk management perspective, they just, were clueless. And I say clueless in the nicest way, but, we still see most small and medium-sized businesses, without a robust cybersecurity plan. It's been about 6 years for Harbor Technology Group. We've kind of went out and spent the first couple of years trying to prove out the market, build out a set of solutions, and then have really been working the past couple of years on, kind of proving those solutions, and specifically this year, kind of pouring a little gasoline on the fire that we had to accelerate growth. And what I'd like to talk about this morning is, how do you scale from that, solopreneur, that, two-person barber shop to a bigger business, right? How do you take your practice and grow your practice over time? I'm really going to kind of attack this from the client side back. So we're going to start with kind of defining the services that you're offering. For most of us, we come from a consulting background. We're kind of that Swiss Army knife. We look for opportunities where we can leverage our experience and our skill set to provide value to our clients. I think for us, the real turning point in growing the business was when we made a conscious decision to define a clear set of services. We started with the name Chief Information Security Officer as a service. Most folks weren't using the vCISO term then, but we really defined what is in that vCISO offering. So when we go out and we talk to our prospects, we talk about really what fits in that vCISO bucket. And it looks like a lot of the components that most of you would be well aware with and most of you are offering: vulnerability scanning, risk assessments, awareness training, policy writing, third-party vendor management, compliance work. But we package it up in such a way that it is digestible, that is usable for the small and medium-sized business owner. And I think that, as I said, that really became the turning point from us, from going out and asking, what do you need, to going out and having that conversation about a virtual CISO, about helping organizations to, fill a role that they might not even have known as existed. And it really became an educational effort early on, but I think has become well adopted. We've kind of continued to build out the set of services. I mentioned awareness training. Working with Symbol, we've developed, what we think is a comprehensive awareness training. Obviously, simulated phishing and video delivery are part of that, but we're also doing tabletop exercises. We're doing executive training. We're doing skill-specific training, all underneath of that awareness training umbrella. And it has really broadened, the offering set that we have and the value we can bring to our clients. So we are no longer competing with, the likes of MSPs to deliver awareness training, because I think we've built a more robust bundle. One of the other things that, and I think this came up on our last webinar that I think is important, is, the ability to kind of specialize. There are an alphabet soup, 82 different, compliance frameworks that are out there. We have clients dealing with US FDA, CFR Part 11, just some obscure rule sets that are issued by federal government agencies. And I think the idea of being able to be that Swiss Army knife, right, that the ability to solve everybody's problem can be limiting in terms of the growth of the business. Focus on what you're good at, focus on the compliance frameworks, the activities that kind of fit your business the best, that fit your experience the best, and then you can grow around them. So we started with the NIST cybersecurity framework. My business partner, Matt Webster, was actually on one of the early teams that worked on some of the NIST initial drafts. And we've continued to use that as kind of the core of our business. Logical extensions for us were areas of defense contracting, the NIST 800-171, now the CMMC effort, because we have expertise, because we come from that, kind of background, we've been able to leverage our history, leverage our expertise to really help businesses that may not have ever played in that arena. The other thing that became important to us, and what we continue to build our practice around, is application security. Being software, running a software development company, and having some software development talent, we've been able to kind of build a security practice around application security. And I offer that not as an area of growth for all of you on the phone or all of you on the webinar, but I offer it as, one of those examples of do what you're good at. Really kind of hone in and focus on the set of services that fit your skill set and that your clients need. The second thing I'll kind of touch on today is staffing. I mentioned it in the last webinar, but I think I'll bring it home here again, is, we do a lot of homegrown talent. We hire a lot of interns, college students who are in their second or third year. We bring them in for the summer. We typically assign them about half real, kind of client work, real work that fits within what we're doing. And about half of the work that they have is maybe a project related to what they're working on, in class or at school. It gives us an opportunity to kind of, provide some hands-on mentoring, some hands-on training, as well as evaluate, the individual, do they fit that consulting mindset? Or are they better on the ethical hacking penetration side, or are they better on, the more client-facing skills we have, like awareness training? The second thing that we found early on is that we needed some project management skills. As consultants, we think that we're good at project management, but the truth is, true project management is a skill set in of itself. We brought on a project manager to help us interact with the clients, to make sure that none of the balls get dropped, right? You know, one of the most difficult things early on for a consulting firm is making sure that you meet all the commitments that you've set, right? You set high expectations with your clients in terms of follow-up, in terms of status reports, and you need to make sure that they're met, and they're met on a timely basis. It can't be that you only send out an update, once a week, every other month. Updates need to go out on a regular schedule. Meetings need to happen on a cadence, and status reports after meetings need to be followed up on quickly. So we found that by bringing in a project manager, we were able to kind of really hone the business, focus our consultants on consulting, our analysts and our interns on performing the back office skills, and allow the project manager to kind of manage the end user experience. The last thing I wanted to touch on the staffing side was the use of 1099s or experts. We probably have a bunch on the phone or on the webinar today that are experts in particular areas, whether it be ethical hacking, whether it be application testing, vulnerability scanning, whatever it may be. But we found great success where we have a client that has a particular need, going out to the community and bringing in 1099s, bringing in experts for hire to kind of augment our skill set. Maybe not always the easiest financial decisions, but certainly in terms of the quality of the deliverable and the experience for the client, very important. And kind of backing into the business a little bit further on the marketing and business development side. We spent a lot of time early COVID. I would say it's a COVID skill that that I worked on and developed, but we spent a lot of time using a tool called HubSpot and developing personas. A persona being who the buyer is. So when we're talking about a small and medium-sized business, right, those folks that are in the 25 to 500 employees, we're typically trying to sell to the CEO of that organization. So we've developed a persona, CEO Doug, and we talk all the time about where CEO Doug gets his information. Where does CEO Doug, who does he rely on when he talks about cybersecurity? What kind of meetings does CEO Doug go to? What does he read? And that really helps focus our marketing strategy. Now we realize that there are a lot of influences in there. There's CIO William or Director of IT William, who is the senior IT person within an organization. And there's Tech Guy Topher. We've defined a persona for Tech Guy Topher so that when we're putting out things like threat information or we're putting out highly technical information, we can specifically target that to the proper persona within the organization. Using all of that, we've built what I think is a pretty good social media campaign. It is that drumbeat, that background that is allowing us to be, known in the space. Obviously, for a lot of us, this is a process where the client only wants to talk to us when they need us, and therefore, if you are a known quantity, if you've had interactions with them, if they understand who your business is ahead of time, when the need arises, you get the phone call. All that said, we're still generating more than 35% of our business from speaking opportunities. Everybody on this phone is a subject matter expert in a particular area of cybersecurity, in a particular area of network management. You have a wealth of knowledge or a depth of knowledge in a particular area. Make use of that. There are great resources out there to become a speaker, to speak to industry groups, to speak to business groups. Business group where we've had a lot of successes, Vistage. If you don't know what Vistage is, it's a CEO peer-to-peer group. And I get out once or twice a month and speak to a Vistage group of 10 to 12 CEOs. And it has been a great source of information for us, a great source of market intelligence, but also a great source of well-qualified, thought-out leads. It doesn't matter whether it's the Chamber of Commerce, whether it's the state CPA organization. I've even spoken in front of a bunch of lawyers so that they get CPE credits on cybersecurity. We look for those opportunities. We welcome them. My business partner is taking a little bit of a different track. He's speaking a lot in front of colleges, in front of a lot of college students, has talked to a lot of college professors about coming in and speaking within an existing cybersecurity or information security program. And we've even reached out to local high schools and trade schools to talk to folks about, making cybersecurity part of their career path. It's that exposure as a subject matter expert that I think has really helped separate us from other organizations out there. The final thing I wanted to touch on today, and then I'll open up to some questions, is the funding and the finance of the business. A lot of us have bootstrapped these businesses to start with. A lot of us focus on, making sure that we're paying our bills, that we're putting money in our pocket, right? That we're meeting our own personal salary requirements. And at times we've neglected funding the business properly. So if you're going to bootstrap the business, if there are folks out there that are thinking about moving into this space, certainly think about the funding aspects, the ability to go out and really have a robust, marketing plan, the ability to put together, a proper team and deliver a high quality set of services. And then obviously there's a lag between, that and revenue. So you need to plan for that. Bootstrapping, again, is not a bad way to do it, but you've got to be able to have that kind of runway. The other way, in a way that we've used, is the Small Business Administration. Small business loans are available to solopreneurs, are available to small startup kind of organizations. They're relatively easy to apply for and get. I would work with a local banker. Look for a banking institution that handles SBA loans in your area. Most of them are the Hopewell Valley community banks and not the Bank of Americas. But that said, I think Wells Fargo and some of the other banks have excellent programs as well. And with that, don't neglect your day-to-day finances. Make sure that you're doing the proper things in terms of invoicing, in terms of collections, in terms of making sure that all your bills are paid on time. One of the things that we really work on and pride ourselves around is making sure that not only do we understand our cash flow and our cash flow needs, that we've got an accurate prediction of our cash flow, but we're meeting our commitments. Just like we meet our commitments to our clients, we want to meet our commitments to our partners and our employees. So paychecks go out on time, bills go out on time, and invoices to our clients go out on time. And if I can leave you anything in this area, I got great advice from our accountant. We came from the enterprise software space. We came from dealing with large companies where 60, 90, even 120-day terms were acceptable. We set 15-day terms with our clients. And to be quite honest, most of our clients are fine with that. Most of them meet the 15-day terms, without a problem. So, ask for what you want, plan for your cash flow, and make sure that it is top of mind every day as you go to build out your business. So Craig, I think I've taken about 25 minutes here. Probably a good point to stop and see if there are any questions, see if there is anything that, that the group wants to kind of drill into a little bit deeper.
Yeah, that was great, Michael. Thank you. And I have a couple. I held because you were on a roll, but
you know me, I could get on a roll and talk for the whole hour.
One of the things I wanted to talk to you about, because I think part of the, just on the staffing side, I think you hit it pretty well. But I'd be interested to know when you and Matt were thinking about growth, and almost the visual that came to my mind is like server utilization, right? When we get to a certain point, we know it's time to expand capacity. So did you guys think of your business almost as like 100% capacity? And when you get to 70, it's time to make that move rather than wait till you're 110% subscribed and and you're fighting just to kind of get through your own deliverables. Can you walk us through how you made the decision to bring on staff, when you did it, and maybe even what you're thinking about for the future as you're now, bringing on people, but when is the, what's down the pipe and how you make those decisions about bringing on more staff?
Yeah, so we have kind of a 3-year rolling business model where we're projecting revenue and costs into the future. We were pretty diligent about understanding our average sales price, length of contract term. So we're getting very predictable on the revenue side, and then using that to build a model. And I'm not going to say that my model is better than anybody else's model, but raw consulting fees, call it cost of goods sold, a little bit combination of some software products that we use and man hours. It represents about 50% of our spend. We're spending about 20% on sales and marketing. We're spending about 20% on administration, and about 10% we're throwing to the bottom line. Using those kind of general numbers, as solopreneurs, as small companies, you realize that the owner, fits into a couple of those buckets. You're doing some consulting, you're doing most of the sales and marketing, and you may be doing all of the administrative. So you need to plan out those costs accordingly. Long story is, we plan out when our hires are going to be, and then we look back almost a year ahead of time to make sure that we're thinking about things like interns, because you're not going to bring in an intern, you're not going to bring in a college student, and have an intern and then hire him without a little bit of preparation.
Right.
Hopefully that answered the question.
Yeah, it does. And I think the next set of questions maybe, and I don't know if some on the webinar is participants or the attendees might want to touch on this too, is, when you hit the next level of scale, when is it time to bring on a more senior resource or set of resources that might be, more client facing in person and things like that. So to me, that's sort of the evolution of growth from, in some cases, the 1 and 2 man or 1 and 2 person, consulting firm, right? Add administrative resources, cultivate them. And then, what does the next level of growth look like? Either partnerships or, directly bringing on additional staff.
I mean, we're there right now. We're actively looking for a senior consultant. So to define a couple roles within the consulting firm, and I'm not gonna go into how Accenture got built and all of that. You think about your partners, right? Your senior consultants at the top level there. Let's call them partners at that top level. Below that, we're going to have senior consultants, and we're bringing one in early next year. Below that, we're going to have junior consultants. Those are typically interns that we've offered full-time positions when they graduated. And then below that, we have, interns or part-time staff. So we do have a tiered model. The nice thing is that, they all come at different rates. And just as in our dealings, Craig, right? We have one of our junior consultants who runs most of the awareness training program, right?
Yep.
Not to pick on Evan, but Evan was an intern, came out of George Mason, spent a summer with us. We extended him a part-time job while he finished up his degree. And then when he graduated, we brought him on full-time, and he now runs all of our awareness training, vulnerability scanning, and he's moving into ethical hacking and penetration testing. So we're growing him. He'll eventually make one of those senior consultant roles, and we're backfilling him and others with junior consultants. But I also won't neglect the outside of the consulting side. We've brought in a project manager, and we've brought in some part-time marketing help. So, we're not just focused on the consulting delivery side. We're also building out the other side of the business as well.
Great, thanks, Michael. And I saw on the chat too, I saw a thread on CRMs, HubSpot was specifically mentioned, and Michael, you even mentioned social media presence and building personas, and that's more than I think we can get through, in the Q&A today, but I'd appreciate the feedback of everybody if you want to see a separate session on that, because part of scaling a vCISO practice, I think you really hit a lot of the owner decision making, right, on when to scale, how to do it. You touched on financing and loans, and bringing in personnel and cultivating them from a very junior role, and ultimately growing them in their expertise. We didn't touch a lot on the marketing side of scaling, and I think that might be worth a separate session as I'm thinking through it, and having had that in close proximity to my functions in prior career roles. But I'd be interested to hear what the panelists think. I think it's a good topic. Got one question in here that I just saw pop up that I think is a good one.
There are already some interesting questions from earlier. I can pass them along if you like, Craig.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, so Tim Golden is asking, is there a training? Is training a vCISO role or a function of the MSSP or MSP?
So so the problem with a lot of MSPs, and I don't want to, maybe I do want to lump them all in one bucket. They're providing IT services in general, and they're not particularly good at security. I think, just dumping out phishing and awareness training videos is only part of a comprehensive training program. You need to make sure that you're training at the executive level, that there's a threat management component to this. And as I said earlier, we incorporate things like tabletop exercises to really bring home the need for awareness training, cybersecurity within the organization. So I tend to think that the MSPs are very good at, kind of that routine kind of stuff, but not necessarily in the security arena. My 2 cents. But yeah, I think so. We deliver that, but we also have some clients where they are getting it from their MSPs. So 6 of one, half dozen of the other. It really depends how the client likes to buy and what they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I would add to that too. Because at Symbol we have a lot of MSSP partners. The ones that do a very good job, and independent of what their designation is, virtual CISO, MSP, MSSP, the ones that do a very good job are committed to the delivery of a security awareness training program. And I use those terms explicitly because running software, managing software is different than delivering a security awareness program to an organization. And so those that are taking that approach are generally successful. They're committed to delivering a successful program. And I think to Michael's point, I think there are some legacy MSP behaviors around uptime of software and network. But I'm definitely seeing a pivot. And by the way, for all of you virtual CISOs out there, the MSSP, as I see it, is pivoting to services and consulting. And I think there's partnership opportunities there for those that are interested in it. Because as you guys see, clients are in need of everything. They're in need of software selection. From a security standpoint, they're in need of advice, they're in need of consulting, then they're in need of policy, rewrites and large customer acquisition, DDQs, and the whole combination of all of those things. Typically, if they're 500 employees and under, they just don't have the resources. But yeah, I think that's, for me, that's where that security awareness training program and the delivery really is successful or isn't, is the commitment to the program itself.
And I want to clear something up, Craig, just so if I could. I'm not talking about MSPs not being qualified in what they do. I'm a big believer that you stay in your lanes.
Right.
And while there is some overlap, so for example, I'm not in our clients or in our organizations, consulting on MSP or back-end kind of services, right? We're not building data centers for folks. We're not doing cloud migrations. That's just not who we are, right? What we are is a virtual CISO, Chief Information Security Officer. And those roles or those activities that fall underneath of that job description typically look like, risk assessments, compliance, vulnerability scannings, penetration testings, awareness trainings. That's typically where that sits inside an organization. And those are the skills that we're providing. I've got great MSP partners that we deal with, but I think, we've kind of defined the lanes that we stay in. And for example, we're not doing patch management. That's not our skill. That is a skill that belongs in the MSP bucket. Yeah.
And I would say too, one of the things that Michael highlighted as a way that he and Matt are scaling the business is through partnerships. And you guys do an excellent job of that. I've witnessed it over the years. Staying in your swim lane, so to speak, and being a value add and knowing how to partner and who to partner with. That's a skill I think that you've curated and mastered over the time that I've known you. I think it's a really great attribute to growth and scale.
Right.
What other questions do we have out there, Loredana?
We have some very interesting questions, and the chat pane is firing up here. So we have a question. Do you see a conflict when you have a vCISO practice and then sell products or manage services?
Ooh,
so we don't sell products, right? So I'm not out there selling, for example, endpoint protection. I'm telling my clients they need a endpoint protection program, and working with our MSP partners to deliver that. So there's a clear delineation there. We're not selling, for example, other kinds of hardware, software kind of solutions. I just don't think that's in our particular. That's not in our lane. To go back to that analogy. So I think having a good ecosystem of partners is important, and even working with the incumbents. I'm working with a hedge fund right now that's got a MSP that's well entrenched, white glove kind of service, doing great work, and we're working together. And I think by working together, there's opportunities in there for both of us. And as long as we stay in our lanes, we're happy and we're moving in the right direction. So now I can't say that all vCISOs kind of support that. I know a lot sell products, sell services, but our focus is really on the consulting side. So I got to say 90+% of our revenue is consulting revenue, not products and services.
Great, thanks, Michael. Loredana, what else do we have there?
I think those were the questions, but if anybody wants to add something, they can come off mute. There's an interesting debate on the chat pane.
I did see a couple of things on interns. So let me comment real quick, because this is an area that I've got some passion around. We're looking at a couple of, working with a couple of universities, and we're working with the local community. Lots of kids, and I say kids in the nicest term, lots of kids that we know from the community that have gone off to college who are studying information security, network technology, maybe computer science, that we're bringing back as interns. When we bring in an intern, we bring them in only on a part-time basis, so it's not a full-time summer job. And we're bringing them in depending upon the year and the kind of program that they're in. We're bringing them in between $15 and $20 an hour. So it's a relatively small investment for us for those 3 or 4 months over the summer. And as I said, for each intern we bring in, we develop one specific project that relates back to school. So this summer we brought in a marketing intern, and she helped us launch a podcast as part of the production management work that she was doing at school. So we're very diligent about bringing in the right kinds of interns, having them only fill a kind of non-critical role, right? They're not on the critical path to any deliverables, and also making sure that we tie back to their schoolwork. And hopefully, if we figure out who they are and they figure out who we are, we're in a much better position to have a conversation when it comes time for graduation.
Yeah. I like it. Very good.
And I agree with you, Craig. I think a session on personas and CRMs would be great.
Yeah.
I started with the thought is I need to know my buyer, right? I need to know my buyer. I need to know where he shops. I need to know how he buys. I need to know where he gets his information. Is he reading the Wall Street Journal or is he reading the New York Times?
Yeah.
Is he on LinkedIn or is he on Facebook? Is he on Twitter? Does he listen to podcasts? Those are the kind of things that we really thought about when we put the persona together.
Yeah. Yep.
Another question popped up. Should organizations providing vCISO services be accredited?
So there is an accreditation out there. Matter of fact, I'm in the process of studying to take the test between Christmas and New Year's. That's an interesting question. There are lots of accreditations out there. The question is, what is appropriate for your business? I've gone through and done ISO 27001 programs that came with a certificate or a letter of completion. Again, I think you need to specialize in what you understand, what you're good at. We're not trying to be that Swiss Army knife. I'm not out, telling folks that we're experts in areas where we're not. But accreditations are just tests. They're letters behind your name, right? Does every business owner need to have an MBA? No. Does it help? Yes.
Michael, could you share the accreditation that you're referring to?
It's the Certified Chief Information Security Officer, and I've closed my browser for this, so I don't remember what they also offer a certified ethical hacking program, a certified penetration program, and I just can't remember off the top of my head what the name of the company or the URL is, and I'll get it.
EC Council. Yep, and I just dropped it in the chat.
Yep, that's the EC Council, Tim. That's perfect.
Okay.
Yep, that's the one I'm taking.
Nice. So I also encouraged everyone to register as a member to the vCISO community so that they can be part of experiences like this one.
Great. Thanks, Loredana. Well, listen, Michael, I really appreciate your time here. This was great. Conversation was good. It was good to see some new faces. And attendee list. And please keep in touch with us. If there's any other questions, by the way, feel free to put them in the chat. We can respond to them. I think it'd be a good time to begin to wrap up, though. We would like to continue a monthly cadence of topics, and as I mentioned, if you've been a part of any of the communications with us before, we really are working off of your input, and not just your input, but your leadership as well. So if anybody has an interest in taking a lead on a particular topic, we'd love to hear from you. vCISO News also promotes articles written by virtual CISOs. Even we're willing to help even to the point where you have a topic, but maybe you're not comfortable in the authoring of it. We can help with the content creation from that regard as well. But again, this is really designed both to serve as a networking platform for virtual CISOs, and then a ability to promote the business out to the broader community. And we're making some good strides, I think, as as more virtual CISOs and security consultants come in as members. And I think the feedback I'm hearing is it's been beneficial, for most of you, able to get, if nothing else, a little bit of insight from how others are running their business, and hopefully, some networking for you outside of this as well. Maybe you can find a like-minded specialist who's a different set of capabilities, and you can go and together, promote your businesses or take on a project or whatever the case might be. So with that, I think we're good to close out here. Laura, Dana, if you have anything to add, or Michael, anything to add, please do.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Laura, Dana, for that. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone out there as well. Michael, thanks a lot. Great job today. And thanks to everybody in the attendee list for your great questions. We'll be in touch. If you're not already a member, as Laura Dana suggested, sign up to be on the mailing list, and we'll pull you into communications and ask for your feedback going forward. But we're going to try to do another webinar mid-December. We're tightening up the topic, and ideally we'll be in that probably in that third week of December with our next webinar. So look forward to hearing from all of you. I see some questions on where to sign up. We'll push that out to anybody that registered for this, and we'll look forward to keeping the conversation going. So thanks, everyone. Have a great day, and we look forward to speaking with you soon.
Great. Thanks, Ray.
Thanks.
Thank you.